you. See life from a different view. Design. Innovation. Technology. Quality. Low carbon future. Sustainability. Inspiration. See life from a different view.
όμιλος φαρμακευτικών επιχειρήσεων Τσέτη με τις φαρμακοβιομηχανίες Unifarma και Intermed, την εμπορική εταιρεία Pharmabel στην Κύπρο και την νεοσύστατη Uniherbo που στοχεύει να πρωτοστατήσει στην αξιοποίηση της ελληνικής χλωρίδας, δραστηριοποιείται αδιάλειπτα για περισσότερο από 65 χρόνια σε έναν ιδιαίτερα ανταγωνιστικό κλάδο έντασης, γνώσης και τεχνολογίας. Με πλάνο επενδύσεων άνω των 80 εκατομμυρίων ευρώ την τελευταία δεκαετία σε βιομηχανική υποδομή, τεχνολογίες αυτοματοποίησης της παραγωγής, ψηφιακό μετασχηματισμό και έρευνα και ανάπτυξη, 3 υπερσύγχρονα εργοστάσια, έντονη εξωστρέφεια και εξαγωγές σε πάνω από 60 χώρες με τα κατοχυρωμένα εμπορικά σήματα του ομίλου, αποτελεί μία από τις πλέον δυναμικές παρουσίες στην παγκόσμια φαρμακευτική αγορά και απολαμβάνει πλήθους τιμητικών διακρίσεων. Στον ΟΦΕΤ απασχολούνται πάνω από 500 εργαζόμενοι, εκ των οποίων το 57% είναι υψηλής εξειδίκευσης και το 40% είναι γυναίκες. Η παραγωγική ικανότητα των βιομηχανικών μονάδων ανέρχεται σε 2,5 δισεκατομμύρια δισκία και 50 εκατομμύρια μονάδες ενέσιμων ετησίως, κατατάσσοντας τον όμιλο πρώτο στην ελληνική φαρμακευτική αγορά. Το χαρτοφυλάκιο του ΟΦΕΤ περιλαμβάνει πρωτοποριακά προϊόντα, μεταξύ των οποίων Σαλοσπίρ, Αποτέλ, Αλγκοφρέν, ΤΑΦ4, Τρεμπόν, Εύα και Χλορεξίλ. Ο σχεδιασμός και η ανάπτυξη των οποίων έχει πάντα στο επίκεντρο τον ασθενή. Ισότιμα ισχυρή και ανθρωποκεντρική είναι όμως και η στρατηγική εταιρικής κοινωνικής ευθύνης του ομίλου, με το σύνθημα You and I Care. Βασικούς πυλώνες της στρατηγικής αποτελούν το πρόγραμμα αποστολής ζωής, με προληπτικές εξετάσεις σε απομακρυσμένες περιοχές, εκτενή προγράμματα περιβαλλοντικής διαχείρισης και η τράπεζα αίματος Σταγόνα Ζωής. Κορυφαίο επιστέγασμα της κοινωνικής ευαισθησίας του ομίλου είναι το Ίδρυμα Κλέον Τσέτης, με σκοπό τη στήριξη της νέας γενιάς επιστημόνων.
Με σκοπό να μείνουν οι Έλληνες και οι Ελληνίδες στον τόπο που γεννήθηκαν.
ΟΦΕΤ. Αξία για τον άνθρωπο, ευθύνη για την κοινωνία.
Κυρίες και κύριοι, παρακαλώ λάβετε τις θέσεις.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. The President of the Hellenic Republic, Madam Katerina Sakellaropoulou.
Μάλιστα. Εξοχότατη κυρία Πρόεδρε.
Your Excellency, President of the Hellenic Republic, Prime Minister, Mr. Verhofstadt, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's event organized within the framework of the General Assembly of SEV. I have the honor to ask our keynote speaker, Mr. Verhofstadt, to come up, President of the European Movement International, former member of the European Parliament, former Prime Minister of Belgium, and Mrs. Theodoropoulos, journalist.
Καλησπέρα σας. Good evening. I would like to welcome Mr. Guy Verhofstadt, President of the European Movement International, former Prime Minister of Belgium, and former member of the European Parliament. Mr. Verhofstadt, we are very happy to have you here with us today and hear your thoughts on the state of play for Europe within the new world order. So I will get straight to the point. How would you describe the state of play for Europe in a changing world, the main challenges it faces, and the expectations it must meet? Yeah. Is Europe ready?
How many hours you have to have an answer to that existential question? But first of all, let me thank you for the invitation, and I'm very pleased and honored that the President of the Republic and the Prime Minister Mr. Mitsotakis is there. I've always got an enormous esteem for him, he knows that, and certainly for the way how he reformed Greece. And let me start by saying, what is the state of play? Maybe it would have better to organize this conference in a few weeks' time, after the elections in the United States of America, to know what the state of play of the world will be in the coming years. But I describe personally always the state of play of the world today, a new age of empires. I think we don't live anymore in the old world order after the Second World War, the Cold War. We don't live anymore in this period, idealistic period of 1989. After 1989, the end of the Berlin Wall, everybody thought history is over. Free market economy has won the fight. Democracy is evident everywhere. I think we live since 2008, since the financial crisis especially, in what I call a new age of empires, where it are not nation states, it are big regional organizations, continental organizations, or countries who in fact rule the world. And it is a brutal world in which we live. China is not a nation, so many nations. It's a civilization. India, ladies and gentlemen, that's not a nation. There are hundreds of nations living in India. 20 languages are spoken in India. There are 4 big religions that they practice, and it's the biggest democracy, so that's an empire. America is an empire. Russia wants to become again an empire. Well, the key question in this world is a brutal world with enormous technological, digital, military, political competition is, are we ready for that world? We Europeans today. And I think that the answer is no, we are not. If tomorrow Trump comes back in the White House, it's possible that he decides something, for example, the end of the participation of the US in NATO. I don't know, but he is capable for everything. Also for such a stupid decisions. And the question is, are we ready for such a world? A world that is military divided, with what is happening in Russia, in Ukraine, this brutal invasion, but also in the Middle East. Are we ready technologically, economically, for this new world order? I don't think so. And for that, instead of words, I have taken a few slides. So it's, I can never do that. I have never done that in the European Parliament, so it's better to do that here once. But it will be 2 slides that I will show also Prime Minister in the European Council once. And the first, so I will not show everything. Hope that it works. It works there, yeah, at the other. So what I want to show you here is the geopolitical world that is emerging and on which we are not prepared. That gives the military expenditures worldwide for the moment, the military expenditures worldwide, and then you see that actually the US, who is the world champion of military expenditures. You see also Russia, that's after the start of the war, and nearly 100 billion. That they are spending. But you see also, that is the most important, the European Union spending, what is it? I don't see it from here, I have bad eyes, but nearly 260 billion. And with Britain, so for once I take them back in the European Union, more than 330 billion euro. So that's 3 times the budget of Russia. We are spending with 27 countries 3 times the budget of Russia, and we are not capable to really sustain Ukraine. We can do with that money 10% of the operations of the American army. So imagine a little bit. We spend 35% of the Americans. You can only do 10% of the operations of the American army. No, I'm a lawyer. I don't know nothing about figures. Nevertheless, I was Minister of Budget for a certain time in my country. I'm always saying, to be Minister of Budget in a country, you don't need to know anything of figures. And the only thing that you need to know is the word no. That's the only thing that the Minister of Budget needs to know. But in any way, I know, even as a lawyer, now when you spend 35%, you can only do 10%, that you are 3 to 4 times less effective. And that's normal. We duplicate everything. We have 130 weapon systems in Europe. The Americans have 25. The Russians have 30. We have the highest number of soldiers. I have also a beautiful slide on that, on the soldier side. So we spend exactly the same as China on military expenditures, with the UK even more, and it's only what we can do. That is the lack and the inexistence of a European Defence Union. And if there is one priority to make, it's that in the coming years. And that's more than simply producing ammunition. It's the opposite. The European Defence Union is what the founding fathers in the 50s wanted to do. 42 divisions, 1,200 airplanes, nearly 20,000 tanks. That was the real European Defence Union that never was materialized. And my second point is, where we need to change Europe the fastest as possible is on the economic side, on the digital side. We are, in fact, playing no role digitally, economically, in the field of technological features for the future. And for that, I have, that's the only thing what I got on the show, that were the soldiers. We have the most soldiers of the world, but okay, that's part of the previous story. That is the stock market value that I want to show to you of the tech companies worldwide. You need to have good eyes to find Europe on this. I hope that you have your glasses to see it, because that's the yellow thing. So America, red, Asia, you know all these big companies. From Apple to Microsoft and so on, Facebook, and then the Asian. And then you see Europe, a little small thing with only 2 examples in SAP, that's this German accountancy firm. Once I did a conference and there was a guy from SAP in the room. He was not pleased with my description of his company. And then another example, that is Spotify. And that is a good example of what goes wrong. Many people think that Spotify is not a European, but is an American company. While in reality, it's a Swedish company who needed to go to the US to develop itself, and when it was successful, came back. That's the only crown jewel we have. It's a little bit dated. There is another one, ASML. That's this Dutch company who is producing these important semiconductors production machines. But Spotify is a good example. Why they went to the US? Why they could not develop it here? Because here, in Europe, you need 27 authorizations from 27 national authorities to start a new app if you have invented one. And then you need to make a deal with more than 100 telecom mobile operators that are still active. We don't have a consolidated telecom market in Europe. And then you need also to have money of a capital service market who is not united. So we have a single market. But our single market is for champagne, chocolate, and from Belgium, beer, also from Belgium, and for German cars, but we have no single market for everything what is the future. For everything what is digital, technological, venture capital, all this what is the driver of the future. And that's the reason why I think that the biggest priority, and then I will stop answering your first question, is that the 2 reports that have been put on the table of the Council, the Draghi report on the money and the Letta report on unifying the market, needs to be implemented the fastest as possible. And that we have not to wait again for a new commission, thinking, reflecting. The work has been done. What needs to be done now is making this push forward to make Europe ready for this difficult world for the 21st century.
I would like to come to the reports that you mentioned, the reports by Enrico Letta and Mario Draghi, where we saw that despite the progress achieved during the past 15 years, the European Union is lagging behind its global competitors and urgent action is needed. However, 1, do you agree with their diagnosis and proposed remedies? And 2, how pragmatic are they in the current context of the new European Commission, whose hearings are currently underway? What does the European Commission and the Union as a whole need in order to become more effective?
Well, I think that the most important part of these 2 reports is naturally the money issue, because you can talk a lot about standards and new competition rules. The money will drive it. And in America, it's very simple. Biden did the Inflation Reduction Act, what was mainly an enormous input by the tax credits in the American economy. But the problem is we have no European tax system. So you cannot do tax credits on something that doesn't exist. And therefore, the idea of Draghi to, in fact, repeat what we did with the Next Generation Fund, Prime Minister. So with the Next Generation Fund, we did raise a lot of money that needed to be invested by the countries, and that worked well. What Draghi, in fact, is proposing is to make this permanent, to have a facility in Europe where we raise money with European bonds that will, in fact, be invested in the European economy, like we did with the Next Generation Fund, but in the new technologies and in every other new feature for the future. And it worked perfectly. Remember that there was so many resistance against European bonds for how many? For 2-3 decades, mainly from Germany, but that's something that you know very well, that problem. And they were always against bonds. Nevertheless, the Next Generation Fund, the bonds that we put on the market were an enormous success. They were subscribed in a few days. Because a pension fund, an investment fund, a venture capital fund, they like to have European bonds. Instead that they have to create a new instrument where they mix Greek bonds with Dutch bonds, with Belgian bonds, with French bonds, with Spanish bonds. Far better is a European bond because that is a spread of the risk of your portfolio. So they were subscribed in a few days. And this is, in fact, the way forward. The way forward is that we create a real facility for investment based on bonds, and we have the euro as a currency who can underpin that. And that is, in my opinion, the most important thing so that we can support our industry in the whole of Europe.
Is it possible for Europe to close the investment gap by mobilizing investments in the range of 800 billion per year, as indicated by the Draghi report? And can the European Union succeed without moving towards further integration?
I think that we can do that. The only thing what we need to do is to make the facility that we have created with the Next Generation Fund permanent, because that means that every year you will have an additional more or less 150 billion that you can spend in the economy. So that makes over 5 years more or less the amount where Draghi is talking about. And then I think that it is absolutely critical that we create our own digital economy. The reality today is, maybe I have also a slide. Yeah, I think that I have a slide. So it was a question together with the slide. What I want to show you is who are in fact producing the data in the world. So the big two producers of the data in the world are the Europeans and the Asians. We are producing the data. So the digital world is very simple. We make the data and the Americans make the profits. That's more or less the division of labor in the world. And that is what we have to change. I think a great project. I agree with the European policies of the GDPR, so safeguarding our privacy, the DSA, and all the other things, but it are defensive things. You know, you don't build only on defense a good play. So you need defense in football, we all know that, and in other sports, but offensive is even better. And I think one of the ways to do is that we make regulation on that, for example, data are still owned by those who produce it and can be monetized in the future. That's the way to do it. So that it are not the 4 or 5 big tech companies who are in fact using our data, what we produce, our creativity, in fact, to make their economic wealth in a more and more monopolistic way, I would say. And that is even understood today. And that means also, next step, that we need to modernize our competition rules. One of the big issues in the coming years will be that competition rules that at the one side needs to safeguard competition in our economy, but at the other hand needs to be used with flexibility so that European champions can exist. I'm a lot frustrated by a competition authority in Europe who, for example, when Scania wanted to merge with Volvo trucks, I'm about trucks now, said, yeah, it's impossible. Why it's impossible? This new company will have a far too dominant position in the north of Sweden and the south of Finland. But what I have to do with the north of Sweden and the south of Finland if we have to compete on the world market? Or for example, when Alstom and Siemens wanted to merge, the competition authority said, no, it's not possible, because it will have a too dominant position on the European market, while for the moment 60% of high-speed trains are built where? In China. And the competition authority said, yeah, but they are not there in Europe, so that doesn't count. No, they are not there for the moment. will be there maybe in 5 years, in 10 years, and overthrowing our own industry. So competition authority, we need, so the Americans, they don't apply their competition authority when it's concerned the technological companies. And they have 5 more or less monopolistic companies, they do nothing about it. We do it, and it's good that we do it, but we need to do it with the goal to create European companies that can be, in fact, competitive on the world market.
And what do you believe? Are you optimistic or pessimistic? How do you see Europe in the next decade?
Well, I am optimistic as if we have the possibility to also do a number of institutional changes. I know for a number of people and leaders in Europe, that's not a very popular item, to say we need to change, in fact, a number of institutional issues. Because, let's be honest, the main problems that we have, institutionally and politically, is still the fact that we, for a number of decisions, need unanimity inside our institutions, especially in the European Council. I was a little bit I'm busy to write a book about the future of politics, so I need mandatory, I would say, to read a lot of books about politics and especially European politics. But what struck me was the difference of approach of the financial crisis, and you know it better than I do, in 2008 by Americans and how we did it in Europe. In America, no unanimity is required. They could immediately launch TARP. You remember that? Troubled Asset Relief Program. We'll clean the banks. And then a second investment and recovery plan. And from the end of 2009, America was outside the downturn, the economic downturn created by the financial crisis. We have struggled until 2015, and you know it better than anybody else, to have at least the end of the financial crisis, to clean up our banks. Why? Because everybody did it on his own way, nationally, with recoveries that were also funded nationally. It's only since 2015 that we came out. That's the consequence of a system in America where they can decide with qualified majority and with an executive order of the president, compared to Europe, where we need to give another file on migration. How many years it has lasted? Nearly 10, 15 years before we got an agreement. And since we have an agreement, the problem has changed from nature, and we need other things. So in the world of tomorrow, this brutal world, this new age of empires, in fact dominated by large continents like China, India, and the US, deciding by unanimity, you act always too little, too late. That's the problem. And so we need also institutional changes. Not a commission of 27, where they have to invent portfolios for a number of them. That's the reality. We need a small commission. We need a real budget, a budget sustained by European bonds that are put on the market. And we need definitely the end of unanimity. A family and a company doesn't work with unanimity, and I don't think politics also run with unanimity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Verhofstadt.
It's for the first time that I'm inside my speaking time. That's never happened.
That's true. Please. Oh.
Σας ευχαριστούμε πολύ.
Thank you very much. At this point, I have the honor of calling to the podium Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis for his address.
Κύριε Πρόεδρε της Δημοκρατίας, dear Guy, I don't know where you are. You're probably somewhere in the room. He's gone already. Okay. Oh, he's coming. Good. Well, thank you so much for this very enlightening tour d'horizon, and I wish at some point we'd have the opportunity to discuss the issues you touched upon in greater detail, because I think they are critical about the future of our union. So allow me to switch back to Greek. Αγαπητέ Πρόεδρε και μέλη της διοίκησης του SEV.
President and members of the board of SEV, dear colleagues in government and in parliament, I am present again this year in the General Assembly of the Hellenic Federation of Enterprises, SEV, thus recognizing their active role in the productive life of our country. In this General Assembly, in this meeting rather, the state and business try to find the way forward for the great economy. As your apt slogan says, we achieve more together. And that's the spirit so far in our cooperation with the former President Mitsotakis, and frank communication between the state and the private initiative has always created opportunities for cooperation in an open way, and I'm certain that this will also happen under the new leadership of SEV. Dear Spyros, congratulations. Now, allow me to mention what the new president of the Federation said in a recent podcast. I heard him saying something critical. The country is improving. We need to compare ourselves with countries that are better than us to identify our deficits. But sometimes we need to realize where we were some years ago. And indeed, next to the ambitious goals we set, it's useful to know the distance we have covered so far. And that's not small, because Greece in 2024 has nothing in common with Greece of 2019. Our country is now no longer in the intensive care unit. We have a great reduction of the debt. We have gained an investment grade rating. Tourism is doing fine. Exports are on the rise, up to 50% of the GDP, with a contribution of industry and processing, which is a very good change, a quality change in the structure of our country. We have covered half the investment gap in comparison to Europe, to the rest of Europe. Now unemployment is in one-digit rates, and there is an increase in wages. Sometimes this increase is larger than the increase in inflation. So, President and members of SEV, to cut a long story short, I would say that that's the time to sign a new action contract to make this cooperation between the state and entrepreneurship more efficient, with distinct roles, clear-cut rules and common perspectives for this time to turn into a new opportunity, and the results of the initiative could be shared across the society and across the country. So, some of the government commitments have already become a reality. We have seen an important decrease in tax rates and dividends. We have dropped by half taxes in mergers and something else, insurance contributions, which has been a constant demand, have been reduced by 5.5%, close to the EU average. At the same time, all our moves are in the direction of improving the entrepreneurial climate. And in the Economist list, our country is among the first as regards progress in the specific field. We have position 34 out of 80. Of course, we cannot be fully satisfied, but we have improved our position by 28 positions. And we are among the countries with the best perspectives for the next 5 years. And finally, my friend Guy mentioned this indirectly. Greece has ensured a lot of EU funds. Almost 18 out of the 36 million of the recovery fund have been absorbed with investment projects that change the image of our country. And if we take into consideration the funds of the National Investment Programme, which is also enhanced, and the new ESPA, the new partnership agreement, will have almost 40 billion euro in the Greek economy in the next 2 years. This is a unique opportunity for us all to take a great investment leap. What is also critical are reforms that speed up justice, and you know that many entrepreneurial activities cannot be fully developed because of slow administration of justice. And I think that with the new reforms in the justice system, we will get a final court decisions in smaller periods of time. Finally, we have the full modernization of the work relations. The new digital reality diminishes red tape. The cadastre and the new plans, urban planning, which is a great reform, defining land uses across our country, which is very important for financial activities. So we have state actions in 5 fields that have a positive impact on many other fields. Something more. Today, there is something to be taken for granted in our country. It's immaterial, invisible, but it is a tangible national edge, which is political stability. We do have stability, and we need to recognize how important this is. And you know, there are many states nowadays trying to achieve stability. And we think that it's almost self-evident. But we are so certain that everything will be normal. But this is the first step forward. This is what creates a positive climate for companies to invest safely. Dear friends, of course, we are not a business paradise. I think your president will mention later pending issues such as the energy cost, which is still high. Transition to renewable energy sources hasn't borne fruit to the extent we would like in the bills, electricity bills for households or enterprises. The cost of borrowing could be further reduced. The job market today has deficits impossible. 5 years ago, we just wanted new jobs for the unemployed. However, today we want to make it easier for companies to find the right people for their posts, for their needs. The current account balance hasn't reached the point we would like yet, Governor, but these are the challenges, and we have to give answers to these challenges with daring reforms. Anyway, this was there in the Draghi report. We needed to set up a production-independent Europe. This report is to be discussed in the next informal summit in Budapest. It's a very important text with very daring proposals for Europe. Personally, I fully agree with everything in this report because it indicates the risk for Europe to lag behind in comparison to the US, China, India tomorrow maybe. And this means that European institutions have to take daring decisions to make sure that our common European future will only be a source of optimism. Now, let me come to what happens internally. You know that I am one of the politicians that believe in market economy, a liberal policy, combining the development of a country with the individual prosperity of citizens. The state doesn't intervene, it only regulates if necessary. So these are my beliefs. Therefore, I have to be very clear as to what the state wants you to do. We need a society that will support the economy and satisfied workers, and development should be there for everybody. So you have a role to play, and this is why I would like to mention 5 fields you have to contribute as well. Profits are not just for dividends. They have to be reinvested in companies, to new facilities, to research and development, investment in innovation. Anyway, we have improved tax incentives for companies that do so. And you shouldn't be confined to Greece. You have to turn to the other countries as well. Be more extroverted. But that's not enough. Progress in companies has to be translated in better wages and working conditions. It's something we already see, but modern entrepreneurship has to make workers participants in progress. And of course, work-life balance is important. Nurseries, support for young parents, and why not a share in profit? Now we have incentives and tax tools for such a thing. What is also important is training and retraining of workers. We live in times of specialization and continuous learning. Now there is less unemployment, but there is a need to have more women on the job market, more young people coming back from abroad. So companies are asked to invest in your human resources, and I would rather your strategies for training and retraining be combined with what companies want. And this is what we do in the line ministries, because you know better what the needs and for skills are in order for you to stay competitive. Another field for responsibility is believe in healthy competition, and the best way to justify an open economy is to let the basic rules of the open economy, that is, if there is a reduction in the production cost, there should be a reduction in prices. So if this doesn't happen, it's up to you, and this is bad for the consumers. And finally, corporate responsibility for modern social needs. Steps were taken. Funding prevention, for example, rehabilitation of areas after natural disasters. We have seen what SEV did in the case of Thessaly, and contribution to Giannakou program for upgrading school buildings. But you can do more, because if we want to be fair, we have to say that today we don't see, to the degree we would like, or to the degree that corresponds to your real potential, we don't see the great contributions of industry of the past. So we have these mutual commitments, and this will become the beginning of a productive cooperation on the EU level as well, to make our national voice more powerful. That's very important. That's very important for big companies, exporting companies, because we need to shape up policies useful for extroverted Greek companies. It's something we do in energy transition, for example. There is access to the innovation fund. We can come to the front line of innovation and shaping up European policies in these sectors. And there are some wagers, but they are common. Digital and green transition, increased productivity, proper operation of the market and competition, protection of social cohesion. These wagers cannot wait. But I am certain that, yes, together we can achieve more. Thank you very much.
Κύριε Πρωθυπουργέ, σας ευχαριστούμε πολύ.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. Now I have the honor to invite to the podium the President of the SEV's board, Mr. Spyros Theodoropoulos.
Καλησπέρα σας και από μένα.
Good evening.
Εξοχότατη κυρία Πρόεδρε της Ελληνικής
Δημοκρατίας,
αξιότιμη κύριε Πρωθυπουργέ,
Hellenic Republic,
αξιότιμη κύριε
Prime Minister,
Verhofstadt,
Honorable Mr. Verhofstadt, dear ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome you in turn to our event tonight in the framework of the 17th General Assembly of SEV. But before commencing my presentation, I would like to thank all the members of the previous board for their offer, and especially the former President Dimitris Papalexopoulos. Their work over the last 4 years was carried out under difficult circumstances such as the pandemic, Ukraine, and so on. But under the leadership of Dimitris Papalexopoulos, SEV improved further its contribution to the progress of our members' businesses by expressing well-documented positions and views. They enhanced our position as an association and a credible interlocutor of the state. We hope that we will be as good as they have been. Ladies and gentlemen, entrepreneurship goes through a lot of uncertainty in less and less foreseeable environment, geopolitical upheavals to wars, attacks in the Red Sea, climate change, and of course the long-term consequences of the pandemic, causing a lot of upheaval in the life of businesses. And of course, increase of the cost of raw materials, supply chains being disrupted, difficult transportations of products, and insecurity, and high energy cost. Other factors further aggravating this lack of balance is the technological developments in the Far East and India, as well as the cold financial war between the United States and China, leading to changes of the rules of the international trade and even adoption of protective practices. At the same time, investment competition has been a lot more acute, and the result immediately for Europe is that it is faced with an investment gap of 200 billion euro a year if it wants to remain at the same level of investments with that of the US and China. The European Union needs to respond on many levels, but it has to face its own structural weaknesses. And as if that was not enough, it is nearly trapped in an ever-increasing populism that makes things even more difficult for the common integrated response that is necessary. This maze-like environment of regulatory provisions in conjunction with the European red tape further aggravates competition of European businesses. There is this lack of balance between green transition and competition. And this lack of balance, if it is maintained for a lot longer, it will create an existential threat for Europe. And where do we have the first results of the European choices? 15 years ago, the United States of America and the European Union were almost equal in terms of GDP. Today, the GDP of the European Union is $18 trillion, while in the US it is 27. So, still, European citizens enjoy, in comparison to the US and China, higher life expectancy, better education, more welfare from the state, and not very important revenue inequalities. If Europe, however, wants to maintain these features, it needs to respond immediately. We see the urgency in the Letta and Draghi reports. European Union is in a phase of paralysis, says Draghi, and if it doesn't change, it will be dissolved. We agree things need to change, and they need to change now. In this hard environment, we need to recognize that Greece has achieved important progress. It has necessary primary surpluses for the servicing of its debts, good growth rates, less unemployment, and closing the gap with the rest of Europe on insurance contributions with more public revenue and simultaneous tax reduction, not so much tax evasion. It is doing well in digitization of the public sector. has sufficient resources for the economy thanks to the RRF and NSRF, and of course aims at simplifying licensing of industry, more research and innovation, and a gradual reshaping of auxiliary insurance with capitalizing features, development of cyclical economy, circular economy, and more buyouts and mergers, and many startups that actually further enhance the dynamism of the economy. There are many, however, things at stake, however, and I will be very brief on that, industry, logistics, constructions, technological companies, and service provision, except for, apart from tourism, the role of which has been well recognized. Industry that supports the country in the levels of employment, exports, innovation, and generates multiplying benefits for the economy, regional development, and public revenue. It is important that the contribution of the industry in the national economy is well recognized, as the Prime Minister also pointed out. The industry's contribution to the GDP in 2023 went up to 13.4% versus 11.2% in 2010. It went over its contribution as it was before the crisis as GDP percentage, but also in absolute numbers, 30 billion versus 25. Industry holds the first position in overall exports of goods and services in 2023, achieving a percentage of 46% or 31% without oil, and followed by tourism with 20.8% and maritime activity 18.4%. The real contribution of industry in economy is even bigger, as for each euro of direct participation of the industry in the GDP, we have 2.5 euro of overall contribution to the domestic product. It is a real multiplier for the Greek economy. The role of the industry remains important for employment. In the country, 1 out of 4 employees, that is 1.1 million, is employed in activities that either are industrial per se or driven from industry or by industry. And the jobs offered by industry are full employment, more stable, better paid, and this is why the average gross wage is 34% higher than the average gross salary of the Greek economy. To give you an example, the places of researchers of direct employment were 1,900 10 years ago, 4,200 today, because expenditure for research and development and innovation more than tripled over the last 12 years. But before closing the chapter on the role of the Greek industry, I would like to mention one or two more points. 2023 there were exports amounting to 45.3 billion, second best performance after 2022 record high that was 49 billion, but mainly due to the war in the Ukraine and the hike in the price of fuels and oil. And the industry is the second biggest employer in the country after trade, numbering 502,000 workers. Therefore, the allegation that we don't produce anything in this country is false, does not respond to reality, and negates all the efforts of the workers that work day after day for their businesses and innovate. It would be, of course, unfair not to say that apart from the industry, there are other sectors represented by SEV, such as financial, trade, transportation, logistics, services, constructions, technology, and telecommunications. However, despite the progress of the Greek economy and the industry, there are some problems that are there for years, and more new ones have been added. The long-term problems concern space planning, slow justice, unfair taxation of middle management, red tape, multitude of laws, and inadequate connection between education and labor market, as well as gaps in infrastructures and industrial concentrations in the region. Among the newer problems, we have high electricity prices in comparison to our competitors and great fluctuations. This high cost of electric energy, of course, reduces competitiveness and notches inflation, whereas great fluctuations do not allow foreseeability and make it difficult for the companies to go into agreements with their customers, with their clients. So the companies need to be armed, and not only the industries that are energy consuming, but also those using medium voltage. There are measures that are effective. It is true that the cost of energy is further aggravated by inadequate connectivity with grids, electrical grids, and use of tools such as net billing and others. As the Prime Minister said, the new problem is that the companies do not find those employees that they really need. There is a lack of specializations and difficulty finding people with the right technical skills. And of course, after the crisis, there is problems with inadequate access of SMEs to banking and financing. Ladies and gentlemen, despite progress, margins for improvement remain important. The Greek economy continues to face two critical challenges, that is, the improvement of the balance of current accounts and increase of productivity. The aggravated balance of current accounts torments practically all the time Greece, and was one of the two most important causes of the financial crunch of the previous decade. And even if we remove the imports of capital equipment for investments, the problem remains. So we need to produce more internationally competitive products in order to increase exports and substitute imports. As for productivity, it is recognized that we need to run in order to make up for time lost. Greece needs to increase its productive investments to 13% of the GDP, which is the average European term, and needs more than 11 billion euros every year. It is important to note that this sum is absolutely necessary in order not to lose more ground in relation to Europe. But because we have the ambition to make up for years of productive investments that was created during the 10 years of the crisis, and it is 50 billion euro, we need to have mobilization mobilization of productive investments, and this is indubitable. Greece needs to make an investment quantum leap that will last even above and beyond the recovery fund. And this is a need well recognized by everybody and brought forth by Mario Draghi in his report. And you said it yourself, Prime Minister, you recognized the urgency of this need, saying that there is no time to lose, that every day counts, but at the same time you underlined the difficulty of this endeavor. At this point, we would like to contribute to the achievement of this urgent and difficult target with a complementary proposal. We need to have all the businesses mobilized on the investment front. It is absolutely necessary for the creation of an investment tool which will operate irrespective of the size of the business sector or area.
Δεν θα εξαρτάται η φορολογική επιβράβευση από τη δημιουργία νέων θέσεων εργασίας σε ένα περιβάλλον έλλειψης εργαζομένων όλων των τυποτήτων. Θα επιτρέπει την άμεση έναρξη της επένδυσης χωρίς χρονοβόρες γραφειοκρατικές διαδικασίες συγκρίσεων. Θα αναθέτει τον έλεγχο στους τακτικούς φορολογικούς ελέγχους. Ένα εργαλείο αυτής της μορφής που αξίζει να εξεταστεί είναι οι υπεραποσβέσεις σε παραγωγικές επενδύσεις. Ένα τέτοιο εργαλείο μπορεί να βοηθήσει τη διατήρηση του υψηλού ρυθμού επενδύσεων και μετά τη λήξη του Ταμείου Ανάκαμψης. Τυχόν δημοσιονομικές ανησυχίες απαντώνται από το γεγονός πως από τη φύση τους οι υπεραποσβέσεις αποδίδουν φορολογικά και ασφαλιστικά έσοδα για το κράτος πολύ πριν δημιουργήσουν φορολογικές ελαφρύνσεις για τις επιχειρήσεις. Βέβαια, καμία πρωτοβουλία ενίσχυσης παραγωγής δεν μπορεί να πετύχει χωρίς τους ανθρώπους που θα την στηρίξουν και θα την υποστηρίξουν στην πράξη. Οι εργασιακές σχέσεις του παρελθόντος δεν μπορούν να δώσουν λύσεις σύγχρονες ανάγκες εργαζομένων και επιχειρήσεων. Η ραγδαία ανάπτυξη της τεχνολογίας, η τηλεργασία που ήρθε στη ζωή μας μέσω της πανδημίας, η τεχνητή νοημοσύνη αλλάζουν δραματικά το εργασιακό περιβάλλον. Στο νέο κόσμο που διαμορφώνεται, οι επιχειρήσεις πιέζονται και θα πιέζονται συνεχώς να βελτιώσουν την ανταγωνιστικότητά τους. Οι εργαζόμενοι διεκδικούν καλύτερη διαχείριση του εργάσιμου χρόνου τους με στόχο την ισορροπία μεταξύ εμπορικής και επαγγελματικής ζωής, διατηρώντας πάντα τη σταθερή τους επιβίωση για αύξηση των εισοδημάτων. Είναι ενδιαφέρον το στοιχείο που αποδεικνύει την αλλαγή στάσης απέναντι στην εργασία, ότι στην πατρίδα μας ποσοστό περίπου 16% νέων ηλικίας 15 έως 29 ετών ούτε απασχολείται, ούτε εκπαιδεύεται, ούτε καταρτίζεται. Το ποσοστό αυτό, σύμφωνα με στοιχεία του Διεθνούς Γραφείου Εργασίας, σε παγκόσμιο επίπεδο ανέρχεται στο 20%. Η αύξηση της παραγωγικότητας είναι ο μόνος τρόπος για να επιτύχουμε ταυτοχρόνως και τους τρεις στόχους: ισορροπία ζωής των εργαζομένων, αύξηση εισοδημάτων και βελτίωση ανταγωνιστικότητας των επιχειρήσεων. Κλειδί για την αύξηση της παραγωγικότητας αποτελεί η διασφάλιση ενός ευέλικτου πλαισίου λειτουργίας των επιχειρήσεων, ταυτόχρονα με σεβασμό των εργασιακών δικαιωμάτων. Στην Ισπανία, η συνεννόηση κοινωνικών εταίρων και κυβέρνησης οδήγησε σε ένα νέο κοινωνικό συμβόλαιο που στοχεύει να βελτιώσει την ανταγωνιστικότητα. Στην ίδια κατεύθυνση, δηλαδή της δημιουργίας σύγχρονων εργασιακών σχέσεων, έρχεται να εμπλακεί και η Ευρώπη, φέρνοντας για πρώτη φορά προς συζήτηση θέματα ρύθμισης των εργασιακών σχέσεων. Από αυτό εδώ το βήμα, καλούμε τους κοινωνικούς εταίρους και την πολιτεία σε ένα ανοιχτό, επικοδομητικό και γόνιμο διάλογο, χωρίς προκαταλήψεις και ιδεολειψίες, με στόχο ένα νέο κοινωνικό συμβόλαιο επωφελία όλων. Η πολυπλοκότητα της εποχής δεν μπορεί να απλουστευτεί μέσα από προσεγγίσεις και πρακτικές που ανήκουν στο παρελθόν. Κυρίες και κύριοι, κλείνοντας, θα ήθελα να απευθυνθώ σε επιχειρηματίες. Ο κόσμος γύρω μας αλλάζει με μεγάλες ταχύτητες. Η χώρα μας, η οικονομία μας προχωράει με καλούς ρυθμούς. Αυτή τη στιγμή, αλλά έχουμε μείνει πάρα πολύ πίσω. Πρέπει να τρέξουμε με ταχύτητες μεγαλύτερες από τους ανταγωνιστές μας, ως επιχειρήσεις και ως χώρα. Όσα κίνητρα και να δώσει η πολιτεία, η ευθύνη για τη βελτίωση της παραγωγικότητας παραμένει ατομική. Πρέπει να επενδύσουμε περισσότερο, να μετασχηματίσουμε τις επιχειρήσεις ακόμη πιο γρήγορα, υιοθετώντας τεχνολογικές λύσεις, ψηφιακούς μετασχηματισμούς και ψάχνοντας την καινοτομία. Να επενδύσουμε και να εξελίσσουμε το ανθρώπινο δυναμικό των επιχειρήσεων. Έχουμε την τύχη τα προϊόντα και υπηρεσίες μας να απευθύνονται σε μια αγορά 300 και πλέον εκατομμυρίων ανθρώπων. Ας βελτιώσουμε την παραγωγικότητα, ας γίνουμε πιο ανταγωνιστικοί και ας στοχεύσουμε με μεγαλύτερη αυτοπεποίθηση στις αγορές των άλλων χωρών. Η επανατοποθέτηση της πατρίδας μας στο διεθνή χάρτη έχει δημιουργήσει ένα θετικό momentum για τα προϊόντα μας και τις υπηρεσίες. Ας μην επιτρέψουμε στις διαρθρωτικές αδυναμίες που ακόμη αντιμετωπίζει η χώρα να γίνουν εμπόδιο στην ανάπτυξή μας. Στη στενή συνεργασία με τους εργαζομένους μας και την πολιτεία θα πετύχουμε περισσότερα. Δηλαδή μια παραγωγική και ευημερούσα κοινωνία και οικονομία με ωφέλη για όλους. Σας ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Κύριε Πρόεδρε, σας ευχαριστούμε πολύ. Κυρίες και κύριοι, εκ μέρους του ΣΕΒ ευχαριστώ τους χορηγούς μας για την υποστήριξη και εσάς για την παρουσία σας. Παρακαλώ να μείνετε στις θέσεις σας μέχρι την αποχώρηση της πρώτης σειράς από την αίθουσα. Αμέσως μετά μπορείτε να περάσετε στο φοαγέ για τη δεξίωση. Καλό σας βράδυ.
Ο όμιλος φαρμακευτικών επιχειρήσεων Τσέτη με τις φαρμακοβιομηχανίες Unifarma και Intermed, την εμπορική εταιρεία Pharmabel στην Κύπρο και την νεοσύστατη Uniherbo που στοχεύει να πρωτοστατήσει στην αξιοποίηση της ελληνικής χλωρίδας, δραστηριοποιείται αδιάλειπτα για περισσότερο από 65 χρόνια σε έναν ιδιαίτερα ανταγωνιστικό κλάδο έντασης, γνώσης και τεχνολογίας. Με πλάνο επενδύσεων άνω των 80 εκατομμυρίων ευρώ την τελευταία δεκαετία σε βιομηχανική υποδομή, τεχνολογίες αυτοματοποίησης της παραγωγής, ψηφιακό μετασχηματισμό και έρευνα και ανάπτυξη, 3 υπερσύγχρονα εργοστάσια, έντονη εξωστρέφεια και εξαγωγές σε πάνω από 60 χώρες με τα κατοχυρωμένα εμπορικά σήματα του ομίλου, αποτελεί μία από τις πλέον δυναμικές παρουσίες στην παγκόσμια φαρμακευτική αγορά και απολαμβάνει πλήθους τιμητικών διακρίσεων. Στον ΟΦΕΤ απασχολούνται πάνω από 500 εργαζόμενοι, εκ των οποίων το 57% είναι υψηλής εξειδίκευσης και το 40% είναι γυναίκες. Η παραγωγική ικανότητα των βιομηχανικών μονάδων ανέρχεται σε 2,5 δισεκατομμύρια δισκία και 50 εκατομμύρια μονάδες ενέσιμων ετησίως, κατατάσσοντας τον όμιλο πρώτο στην ελληνική φαρμακευτική αγορά. Το χαρτοφυλάκιο του ΟΦΕΤ περιλαμβάνει πρωτοποριακά προϊόντα, μεταξύ των οποίων Σαλοσπίρ, Αποτέλ, Αλγκοφρέν, ΤΑΦ4, Τρεμπόν, Εύα και Χλορεξίλ. Ο σχεδιασμός και η ανάπτυξη των οποίων έχει πάντα στο επίκεντρο τον ασθενή. Ισότιμα ισχυρή και ανθρωποκεντρική είναι όμως και η στρατηγική εταιρικής κοινωνικής ευθύνης του ομίλου, με το σύνθημα You and I Care. Βασικούς πυλώνες της στρατηγικής αποτελούν το πρόγραμμα αποστολής ζωής, με προληπτικές εξετάσεις σε απομακρυσμένες περιοχές, εκτενή προγράμματα περιβαλλοντικής διαχείρισης και η τράπεζα αίματος Σταγόνα Ζωής. Κορυφαίο επιστέγασμα της κοινωνικής ευαισθησίας του ομίλου είναι το Ίδρυμα Κλέον Τσέτης, με σκοπό τη στήριξη της νέας γενιάς επιστημόνων.
Με σκοπό να μείνουν οι Έλληνες και οι Ελληνίδες στον τόπο που γεννήθηκαν.
ΟΦΕΤ. Αξία για τον άνθρωπο, ευθύνη για την κοινωνία.
you.